Hi everybody, Eric at FMLS, wanting to talk to you today about Cloud CMA. What I'm going to be doing through this video is we're going to talk about accessing and navigating through Cloud CMA. I'm going to show you a few ways to do that. We'll talk about reviewing your user settings and your customization. Look at a CMA through both the quick and dirty method that Cloud CMA likes to call it, and we'll also talk, of course, about customizing your CMA, choosing your own comps, and kind of doing the normal MO, so to speak. We'll look at two presentation methods called the presentation mode or just a PDF that you might create. And then we'll also be looking at other reports that the Cloud CMA system does, including buyer tours, property reports, and flyers. So let me go ahead and move over to my live login here to fmls.com. And the first way I want to take us into Cloud CMA is just by hovering over products up at the top of the site and choosing Cloud CMA, which is the second option in the second column. Now, if you are opening Cloud CMA for the first time, there might be some setup screens that are maybe a little confusing to navigate through. I apologize for not showing those to you today. To be quite honest, Cloud CMA has gone through a transitionary period from an old system of theirs to a new system over the past year or so, and they're kind of rolling it out. So certain people might have a certain screen when they log in, and other people might have a different screen. So it's all going to be kind of a little different. If you're having problems registering or you have questions, I know, for instance, there's one point where you might put in some kind of discount code or a coupon code. I can't remember exactly how it refers to it. But first of all, rest assured that what we're going to be talking about through the video today, everything's free. So if you see something and you're concerned about registering and am I going to have a credit card and all this kind of stuff, don't worry about that. No, you're fine. But I understand that it can be a little confusing. So again, if you have problems or questions, contact our customer support department at 404-255-8660. Option 1. But at some point, once you're through the registration process, you should be on your home screen in the Cloud CMA product that looks something like this. Along the top of the screen, you're going to have a little green cloud that you can always use to get back home here. And then further into that white ribbon, I'll say at the top here, we have our four products or our four reports that I'm going to be leading us through: CMA, buyer tour, property, and flyer. And then over to the right, you can see that I've got a little circle here with my face in it. It's got my agent photo. So one of the first things I want to do is show you how to incorporate your agent photo into your report. So when you first come here, rather than having your agent photo, it's probably going to be a little circle with your initial in it. But that's the first thing I want to do, is show you how to set this up. So I'm going to click where my face is showing here, and you're going to have a menu that will look like mine. So you'll have account settings, custom pages, lead generation, and then further down here. So I want to look through some of this with you and just kind of briefly explain what each of these things are. So let's take it from the top to the bottom. At the top here is account settings. I'm going to go ahead and click that. Here's where you can click on this green button, click change avatar, upload your photo, and so that way in your reports will be a page labeled Contact Me. And on the Contact Me page, you will have your photo there. So further down on this page, you'll see just basic information: name, the company that you're with. You can upload the company logo, the email address that you want to use, city, state. You can save profile down at the bottom. Over to the left, contact info. So you can pause this video to address any of this if you're trying to work at the same time that I'm demonstrating this. I just want to kind of make this a quick video, so feel free to pause it as you need to. On the left, contact information. I just mentioned a few moments ago that there's going to be that Contact Me page in your report. So it's on this tab, Contact Info, that you're going to select a method that somebody can use to contact you. So if you want to give, for instance, somebody your LinkedIn profile, you can click on LinkedIn, and then on the right side, put your profile name there in the box, click add, and that will appear in your contact list below. So you might see that I've got an office phone number, a blog, an email address, and hang on a minute, I've got a second office phone number. So what I want you to know is that if you choose, for instance, email, and maybe you have two different emails that you like to give people, you can choose email, put one in, add that to the bottom is what's going to happen when you click add. All you got to do is come back up here, choose email again, and put your second email address in. Just because you've used it once doesn't mean you're prevented from using it a second time or a third time. If you've got multiple email addresses in this example or multiple phone numbers like you're seeing down below, you can do that. No problem. All right. Now notice that you can't edit these things down below. All there is over to the right is a trash can. So if you end up putting the phone number in wrong and you want to correct that, delete it, and then just put it in again up here the correct way and add it the correct way. Otherwise, down below, if you notice down there as I'm kind of hovering over these four contact methods at the bottom of the screen, I can click and drag these around. Okay. The only difference in dragging them into a different order than what they might be showing as is the order that I see down here at the bottom of this tab will be the order that it appears on my Contact Me page. So if, for instance, I'm trying to boost traffic to my blog, I might put that first as a way of saying, look, I'd really want to feature this. I want to put this in the list first. Hit me up on my blog, right? So that's just a really quick and simple way of adding your contact information to the left or down here. Over to the left, password. Let me just start off by saying, don't do it. Okay, you can give the Cloud CMA its own unique password, but the nice, easy, simple thing about how you log into FMLS and then you don't have to log again into Matrix, you don't have to log into Cloud CMA, you don't have to log into Realist, just one login to FMLS is all you need. If you put a password in here, it'll break that for Cloud CMA, and you're going to have to log into FMLS just to log into Cloud CMA again. So if you're super security minded and you want to put a password on everything, then feel free, but we do not recommend it. Okay, keep your life simple is what I like to say. Over to the left, MLS credentials, the next one down, same kind of thing here. I just want to point it out so that you don't feel like I'm skipping over something. We really don't need to do anything here. Okay, this is just a way of saying when we're going to find comps, we're going to find it based out of the FMLS data. Okay. Custom pages over on the left. Well, I'm kind of putting the cart in front of the horse, they say, by showing this to you here. But custom pages, as you might surmise, is how you can add additional pages for use in your reports that aren't found natively in the Cloud CMA system. For example, I've got an agent resume down here. Okay, so you have two ways that you can upload custom pages to the Cloud CMA program. You can title the page and add it. That will make it appear down here. Then you're going to edit that page by clicking on the pencil icon to the right of it. And when you're editing a page, it just brings up a pretty simple editor to just type in what it is you want to put on that page. All right. So the beauty of doing it this way, or what makes this method good, perhaps, is that when you put in your page this way, every page you put in this way, and you just give it the text for that page, this page will fall in line with the font choice, the color choice, the style of the rest of your pages. If you just give it the text for the page, it will make sure it looks like the rest of the CMA presentation. It gives you a nice unified look. However, if I scroll further down, there's the ability to just upload a PDF into the system. So if you're not familiar with the Matrix CMA product, I would encourage you to take a look at that video on our YouTube channel, or come into the Matrix CMA class. But to this end, I mention that because it's something that the Matrix CMA can do, so you may be familiar already with this option. The custom PDF upload at the bottom. Any PDF that you upload specifically as a PDF down there is not going to be altered in any way. So it will not, more than likely, look like any of the pages that you might create in the Cloud CMA product. Okay, so it's going to break that theme, if you will. So it might sound more appealing to have a nice unified layout and look to your report by doing it in the top way. But think about this. Maybe one of the pages that you need to include in the CMA report that you're going to make up is a disclaimer, or is something that the broker says, look, this must be in your CMA. When you do a CMA for my brokerage, you got to add this page and make sure you talk about it, for whatever reason. So with that page that your broker really wants you to hit, you might want that page to definitely look different than the others to draw more attention to it. So you might actually use a blend of these two options depending on what the purpose of the page that you're uploading is. Okay, so again, I kind of said this is putting the cart in front of the horse, because here we are talking about adding custom pages, and we're not yet at a point where we're talking about a report, right? So we'll see more of this later. To keep going on the left, integrations. Primarily what this deals with is there are sites out there where you and your service as an agent can be rated, right? Testimonials, if you will. So if you're getting those kind of ratings and testimonials, if you put in your ID or however you're kind of known on those websites, you can click update the service once those are entered, and you'll be able to pull those testimonials into Cloud CMA for use, usable on a testimonials page that you might add to your custom pages options, right? Just kind of tying it together. There's an API key down at the bottom. I'm going to kind of, in the interest of keeping this video short, I'm going to kind of gloss over this. I really feel that in all the people that I've talked to about Cloud CMA, maybe one of them is interested in an API key type of setup. So for more information, what I would direct you to is there's a link down here that says setting up Cloud CMA with Zillow Tech Connect. Now, even if it's not Zillow Tech Connect that you're using, it'll still give you kind of a rough idea of what the API key does, how you use it, that kind of thing. And of course, the other method that I might recommend to you to learn more about that is you might contact our customer support department. There is a billing option, kind of working once more on the left. Sometimes agents will see sections of the Cloud CMA product that they might pay extra for. Now, first of all, let the hair on your back, or the back of your neck or whatever, put that down. I'm not in any way, shape, or form going to try to come across to you as a salesman. Everything I'm going to go over to you in this video and everything I teach when I teach this in a classroom, I always only use what's available to you through your membership in FMLS. I'm not interested in making you pay any extra money, okay? And some of you aren't going to see it. Like I said, sometimes agents see it, sometimes they don't. So if you happen to not see it, that's okay. I'm going to demonstrate kind of what it is, just so that you can see what it is. But like I said, I'm not even going to use that in my reports as I'm creating them. So in any event, if you do see some of those kick-ups and you're interested in trying them out, for those non-included things that come with your FMLS membership, you might need to pay for those. So that's why billing is there. Otherwise, notice that there's a cancel down here. You have the ability to cancel your account. Just like the password I recommended, don't do it. Don't do this either. Okay, if at the end of this video, or if you take this in the classroom, you decide you don't like Cloud CMA, hey, I'm going to get some money back from FMLS by canceling my Cloud CMA account. First of all, that's not how it works. No, that wouldn't happen. But also, just because maybe you use a different CMA package today doesn't mean that maybe that CMA package doesn't do an update in the next 3 days and all of a sudden you don't like it anymore. So I guess I'll go back to Cloud CMA. Well, if you canceled it, there's some extra hurdles that you need to go through. So if you end up not liking Cloud CMA, well, first of all, I'll be a little sad. But secondly, just don't use it. Okay, that way you can always come back to it and you don't have to give yourself any extra hurdles later down the road. So that was the account settings section. We went through kind of real quickly all of those along the left. So if I click back one more time on my profile, we can see that we just went through account settings. Okay, so really just the first two there you really need to worry about generally. Custom pages is also found in my menu over here. So custom pages in this menu, of course, is the same as custom pages over to the left. It's just a shortcut there. Learning resources, support center, launchpad. I'm not going to worry about sign out. I think you probably can figure out what's going to happen when you click on that. So the only other thing I want to talk about, and the only thing left in this menu before we start getting into our first CMA, is this lead generation tool. So I want to show you what this does. If I click onto lead generation, it takes me to this what's my home worth landing page. Okay, so let me show you how this works. Okay, notice that there's a link right below here that says copy link. So if I click copy link, that will allow me to take this link and put it in my email signature, share it to Facebook, put it on Twitter, wherever I can put a link. Okay, well, okay, fine, I understand how a link works. Yes, I'm watching a video on YouTube, I get links, right? So then let me show you what this does. So if I click on the view landing page, which means go to the link basically, it opens up this page. And so how this is a lead generating tool is what you're looking at right now is what that person will see when they click on that link that you put in your email signature or your Facebook or your Twitter or whatever. So what this potential lead is going to do, they're going to come in here and they're going to put in their home address. Okay, so let's just say I live here. This is not my home, but let's say this is where I live. I'm going to select it, find it. It says, hey, we found it. There it is. Give me your name, your email address. If you want to give me your phone and the square footage of your home, just optional, that's fine. But I'll put in my name, Eric Lead, let's just say. Give my email address. Click email my report, and now this lead is going to get a report momentarily. Not only that, but your email is going to buzz because you will be presented with that person's name, phone number, a copy of what's been sent to them. So if I close out of this, that opened in a new tab, and I click on my home. Okay, I'm going to come back to this and talk about it a little bit more in a minute. Now, when I come back to my home screen, check it out. Here's a copy of the report that was just generated to that potential lead. So I came back here pretty quickly. It's still publishing. All right. So while it's still publishing, let me take an opportunity just to mention that, first of all, rest easy. Nothing in this report is going to mention a proposed list price. Okay, because I know with a CMA, most of the time, if not 9 out of 10 times, we're thinking about why do we do CMA? We're doing one to find a good list price for a sale, or we're trying to find with a buyer a good offer price. All right, so it's published here. I'm going to go ahead and click View PDF. But what I was saying is, as I scroll through here, you're going to see that nowhere in this report is it going to say, hey, we think the value of your house is somewhere between a nickel and $200,000, right? It's not going to project what their home is worth. So really, the whole philosophy or the phrase, what's my home worth, is kind of a misnomer. Really, in the grand scheme of things, the way I hear most people refer to this is basically a neighborhood activity report. They're just seeing what's happening around their home, what's on the market right now, what's recently sold. If it's recently sold, how much did it sell for? If it's currently listed, what's it listed for? Right? It's just going to kind of show what's around them. So the first thing I want you to notice, or what I really want to focus on, is that at the top here of this PDF, I'm currently in my Adobe Reader product looking at this PDF. This is a 42-page report to a potential lead. A lot of times that scares people. Oh my goodness, that's a ton of paper going to somebody that I haven't even talked to yet, right? So a lot of agents might hit the brakes when they see the size of that report, the potential size. First of all, know that we can kind of edit that report, all right? But if I go back to where we kind of launched that from, again, that was under your personal menu by clicking on either your photo if you've uploaded it or your initial. Back to lead generation. If that report, you don't care for it because first of all, it's just a neighborhood activity report. We don't know exactly the details of that person's home. So I really would just rather capture that lead's information. Give me their name and their phone number and let me worry about sending them a report. No problem. Down here under the notification setting is a little check mark that says automatically email a finished report to all your web leads. If you don't like it, uncheck it, click update down at the bottom, and boom. From now on, no reports will go out to those leads. You will have complete control. Okay. Otherwise, the last thing on this lead generation toward the bottom, we have embed. If you have your own web page, not your own business page on FMLS, that's not what I'm talking about. You have your own web page, your own blog or something like that. You can embed a link to that landing page, or you can click this button to directly share this to Facebook, share it to Twitter, share it to Pinterest, whatever places you might have an account to. You can share that What's My Home Worth landing page. Okay. So that's all the personal menu. That's the lead generating tool. Check that out. I think it's a pretty fantastic tool. There's not really any other product in the FMLS stables, I like to put it, that really does that. So I would encourage you to check that out. Okay. So you do have some customization. And you notice here that this report was generated by the lead. I can view that PDF. I can play the slideshow. I'm going to talk about the slideshow later on with a specific report that I'm going to create. I think it really exemplifies the slideshow then, so I'm going to skip it for right now. I can edit this report. So if I don't necessarily want to start over, recreating the wheel, so to speak, by creating my own CMA, let's just use the one that Cloud CMA generated. I can edit that. Okay, I'm not going to necessarily do it now. We're going to walk through a few reports together over the next bit of time here. Okay, so we're going to see those screens. All right, but other things that I can do, notice that I have 3 ellipses up here. If I click on that, I can delete this report. So if you have a report hanging out here in Cloud CMA that you kind of fooled around with 2 years ago and oh my gosh, I don't need that anymore, that's how you can delete it. Just click on those ellipses, delete report from that menu. Otherwise, you can copy a link to either the PDF version or the slideshow version, or you can email this report. Let's talk about emailing these reports because the view PDF, view slideshow, edit, and then my little menu here are pretty much the same regardless of what report we're going to be creating. So let's just get this out of the way kind of as a settings form of conversation here. So if I email the report, if I choose email by clicking on those ellipses, this little screen comes up. I can do 3 methods here. There are 3 ways that I can think about emailing reports from Cloud CMA. So I can put in my email address of my client that I want to send this to, put in a subject, send it, booyah, out it goes. Right? Here's the consideration using what we call the simple method. This is kind of the simple method, right? So if I put in my client's email address, subject line, I can click send, off it goes. Here's the issue. Cloud CMA is a product put out by a company named W&R Studios. If I use this simple method, just putting in the email address, subject, clicking send, the email goes to my client as intended. However, it's sent from W&R Studios. It does not say my name. So if my client is not expecting something from W&R Studios, they might think it's spam and delete it. Okay, so that's just a consideration there. All right, it'll totally work. Maybe you just have to tell your client ahead of time, hey, look for a CMA for me. It might come from Cloud CMA, W&R Studios. It's fine. It's me. Take a look at it. Or the second of three methods, over to the right, it's kind of easy to miss. It's small print and it's in italics. Customize this in your email app, and the words your email app are a link. If I click your email app, it will open up the email program configured on this computer, and I can send from my personal email program. Okay? Clearly, your personal email program should be configured to be coming from you, so we don't have to necessarily worry about that. But the consideration here that I have actually heard from agents in the field in real life is consider what your personal email program is configured on that computer you're sitting at. On your personal laptop, when you open up Outlook or Gmail or Thunderbird or whatever your email program is it your personal email address? Is it pookiebear22@yahoo.com? Or is it your professional real estate email at yourbrokerage.com? Right? So you may not want to send email to your clients from pookiebear22@yahoo.com. Okay? Just be aware that your personal email that's configured on your computer may be your personal email address. Okay? So you have the simple, you have kind of the custom here with your email program. And the third, don't forget you can click on those ellipses and just copy the link. And maybe you're writing up an email in Matrix, perhaps, sending some listings, sending some other data. You might just want to type in that email message, hey, here's a link to a PDF over on Cloud CMA. You can just copy and paste the link to the PDF or the slideshow version from that menu. Okay? So just some thoughts on emailing it and how to manage it, delete it, edit it. Okay. So let's go ahead then. That was just lead gen. Okay. Let's kind of put that away for now. And let's get to creating our own CMAs. All right. So the first one I want to do, we're going to kind of walk through two CMAs, if you will. The first one, while I'm here already in the Cloud CMA program, I'm just going to click over to CMA at the top. All right. We still have that lead because that's considered a CMA report, right? Otherwise, this would work as a filter. Okay. So on the CMA filter, I see the one that I've already got, but I've got create CMA report. Let's click that. This is going to take us into what's called a wizard. We have 4 steps up here: criteria, listings, customize, and publish. And through all of the reports that I'm going to be showing you in this video, they're all the same steps, no matter what kind of report you're generating. So you're going to see a number of examples for this. Let's use what's called the quick and dirty method. Okay. So how the quick and dirty method works, what we're going to do, we're going to start always the same way with a CMA report. We're going to give a client name. So maybe this client is Beth Simpson. Private notes I can put in if I want to. Private notes do not appear in the report. It tells you that toward the bottom. So they're optional. They're just remarks for you, basically, that you might want to make. Over to the right, we do need to put in our subject property address. So I'm going to use that same Ives Court that I used previously. Now notice it pulled in square footage, beds, and baths. It will pull in from the tax record if it can find it. I will tell you this. Remember how I mentioned Cloud CMA is a product of the W&R Studios company? They, as an outside company, do not use Realist. So this data might be different than what you see on Realist. We've asked them where they get their public record data, but it's kind of proprietary. They're not giving us trade secrets. It's like going downtown and asking Coca-Cola to give you the formula. They've just not told us really where they get this. So I'm just mentioning it because a lot of times it's fine. It's correct. It might be different than what you see in Realist, so don't necessarily get mad at Realist or get mad necessarily at Cloud CMA. Just know that if it's not what you like, if maybe the homeowners have put in a couple additions and now we're at 3,500 square feet, I can change it. I'm not locked in just because it pulled it from whatever record it's using. Notice that property type, I can of course run a CMA on just about any property type there is. Okay, I would just choose the appropriate type. There's a section here that says advanced info, and it says in italics, additional subject info used in 4-column layouts. So if I open that advanced info section, we see things like year built, the number of bays in the garage, taxes, that kind of stuff. Excuse me. So what I want you to understand here is when I'm putting in, if I were to put in, for instance, building date, okay, year built, lot dimension, subdivision, it is not going to use these fields when it's looking for comps. That is not the purpose of these fields. It tells you here in italics that if you think about a CMA, and hopefully you can recall one from your training, your agent training, in a CMA you have, generally speaking, a comparison couple pages in there, right? You've got the subject property and then you compare your comps. Well, in that comparison, it's usually done kind of as a table, right? You have columns and rows and stuff. So the year built, lot size, lot dimension, these fields are for use in populating the data that will show in that table, in that comparison. So it is not used to find better comps. It's only used to fill in data on your comparison page. All right, so that's a full discussion on those fields. Let's move further down. The how do you want to get comparative listings? We have exact listings, which is how we're going to do the second CMA in 5-10 minutes or so. But to that time, as I said, we're going to do the quick and dirty method. So I'm going to put a check mark in the quick and dirty side of things here, and I can tell Cloud CMA to get anywhere from 10 to 50 comps and go back anywhere from 1 month all the way back to 3 years back. All right, so I'm going to just kind of keep the default settings to say find me 10 comps going back 1 year. Now, when I was talking about those fields toward the top that did not assist in finding comps, these down here will. So if I want to give a bed range, a bathroom range, lot size range, square footage, or list price range, I can do that to try to find comps because I'm just going to kind of zip that system back up. Okay. How this quick and dirty method works. All right. Find 10 listings going a year back. Here's what it's going to do. That 1144 Ives Court that I'm using, it's going to go 1/10 of a mile away. It's going to draw a small circle 1/10 of a mile away and say, did I find what Eric wants? Do I find 10 listings up to a year back? No? Okay, go out 2/10 of a mile. Did I find 10 a year back? No? Okay, go 3, right? It's going to gradually increase the radius of that search until it finds at least 10 comps going 1 year back. All right? It will never find fewer, but it might find more. All right, so just let me give you this example. If we're at 3/10 of a mile and I've got 8, let's just say, when I go to 4/10 of a mile out, maybe there's 5 matches between 3 to 4/10 of a mile away. It's not just going to find 2 at random and pick those because I need 10 and I had 8 at 3, right? What it's going to do is it's going to give me 13. It's going to give me all 5 of those matches between the 3/10 and 4/10 of a mile, and then just kind of let me pick and choose which of those. If I want to stick to a strict 10, I can pick 2 of my own choosing. Okay, so you might always find more, but you'll never find fewer. Okay, so that's how the quick and dirty method works. Also, I want to point out down here, it says Cloud MLX. Search comps on the MLS in a fast new way. Try it for free. You don't have to try it for free. You already get it as a part of your FMLS membership. Don't get suckered into that. Okay, this is just standard kind of in-house, if you will, advertising. So you already get it for free. Don't click on this. Okay, well, I say for free, but let's be honest, you get it as part of your FMLS dues, right? Anyway, so there's a fetch listings button at the bottom that will progress us to the next step, or the same button in the upper right corner, whichever one you like. They're going to do the same thing. So since I scrolled up to show you this one, I'll just click on it up here. So now is when Cloud CMA goes out and tries to find those comps. 1/10 of a mile, 10? No, okay, 2/10 of a mile, like I was just telling you. So we're waiting for it to kind of find those comps. All right. And sometimes the system can be a little slow. All right, I'll just be honest with you again. Not so bad that you're going to feel like you need to celebrate a birthday. It's not that dramatic, okay? But it can be a little slower. So here's what we've got. Here's this map. The red ones are sold, okay? Gray ones are possibilities. Okay, and what I mean by possibilities, remember how I mentioned that if between 3 and 4/10 we go from 8 to 15, those are the ones where it's saying, well, these might be good comps, they might not, we don't know. It's hard to see here, but if I kind of zoom in on this map a little bit, that purple box is our subject property. Okay, so it's, when we zoom out there, it's kind of covered over. All right, I just want you to see that there. So we're using this as quick and dirty. I'm going to come back in a minute and talk about really fleshing this out, so to speak, this entire CMA. So I'm kind of skipping things right now. I realize that. Just be patient, because I'm going to come back. I want to show you how quickly this can be done first. So over to the right, we've got our summary of prices. We've got 10 solds, because it found the solds. Okay. Low, median, average, high. There they are. Over to the right, notice that the ones that are check marks, there are 10 check marks and they're all sold. If I look down here, there's some that are pending. There's 2 that are active. I can kind of make it out. I know it's grayed out. It's difficult maybe for you to see there. But this is where over to the right, I can click the check marks and add those in. Okay, there's a couple pending sales. Let's add those in too. So real quickly, how easy is it that I can go from the 10 that it found and then pick some of those that are grayed out to include, and now I'm up to 14, right? 2 active, 2 pending, and 10 solds, right? Maybe there's too many solds, right? Maybe this sold up here at $7.99, $7.90. That's a little too high. Those are maybe in a different price point. Okay, there's one for $1 million somewhere down in here. We don't want that one per se. That's a pending one. Okay, so we have more of a range maybe. I mean, this is still too wide. Low 320, high 789. But anyway, the point I want to make is that you can quickly and easily just put check marks over to the right of properties that you want to consider as comps or not. Okay, so that's all I really want to show you on this tab right now. We're going to come back to it in a couple minutes. Let's customize report, and same kind of philosophy. I just want to show you how quickly you can create a pretty good looking report. So on the customize screen, this is where we're going to talk about what pages do we want in our presentation. So again, I'm going to come back to this. Let's just quickly click publish. Okay, because we're going to see this several more times. Right now, I just want to highlight things that we're only going to see that one time, that quick and dirty. Okay, so once more, we've gone through all of the options here. It's publishing, so I've got a minute to kind of talk about, again, the purpose of this particular CMA for Beth is that it was a quick and dirty, meaning we're going to let Cloud CMA pick its own comps. But notice that we did have that ability to kind of fine-tune the comps that it found if we wanted to tell it how many comps we wanted, a certain amount of time back in the market history. Okay. So this should be done publishing. And of course, another thing I want to mention about publishing is that the more comps that you add, the more pages you put in your presentation, of course, the longer it's going to take to publish. So this is done now. I'll click View PDF. And again, we can kind of take a look. So I want you to notice right now, looking at this one now, this one's 59 pages. I kind of blew this one up. But I want you to notice right now this kind of blue color of the text and the blue and black line here, because we're going to be able to change those colors, like we can change the font, Okay. But hopefully what I want you to kind of get an idea is here of kind of how professional and nice looking these reports look. They're very clean. They're well presented. So I didn't do a whole lot, right? I kind of just said, hey, go find some comps for me. Yeah, I like this one. I don't like that one. Let's make a report. And that's all I had to do to get this really nice looking report generated. Okay, so that's just how fast and easy it can be to create a CMA. But I'm going to go ahead and close out of Cloud CMA back to fmls.com, and let's head up our second CMA that I want to present to you. And this is more, I'm going to call it a traditional method, because I'm going to go ahead and start actually in Matrix, because this is probably where you're doing your research and you're finding your comps. Okay. Because, it's kind of a gimmick. Let's just I'm going to use that term. It's up to you what you want to call it. But it's kind of a gimmick in a way to let Cloud CMA find its own comps. Like, okay, I get it. It's proximity, so I can hopefully trust it a little bit. It's not like it's finding things in Macon for a house that's in Chamblee or something. But I definitely want more control. I'm the real estate professional. I want to make sure that the comps I'm finding are really the comps I want to use, right? So more than likely, you're going to be doing that in Matrix. So again, just in the interest of keeping things kind of short today, I'm going to go ahead and do my search for one that I've kind of done already. Okay, so I'm going to use this one. And again, I'm going to keep it really easy. I'm going to say, I want that active, I want that pending and that pending, and let's just kind of pick some. Now, obviously, when you're doing your research, you're more discriminating than just choosing properties at random, right? So I'm just kind of saving time and just picking ones. I'm just saying, oh, these are the ones, yeah, right? So you would have your own method that you're finding comps. So however you're finding your comps, right? Like I said, typically you're doing this in Matrix. But if you notice down at the bottom in the button bar, almost over to the end of it, is a button that says Cloud CMA. So I can click Cloud CMA. It opens the Cloud CMA system. I'm just going to kind of close out of this little blue box that it brings up. And notice that it's already starting me on my way on my wizard. Client, it's put in new CMA just on its own, bless its little heart. So let's say that now my client's name is Tom Jones, right? Private notes say Matrix, just to let me know that that's where it pulled the listings from. Tom also lives at 1144 Ives Court. I'm just using that same example several times. I'm going to use different properties here in just a minute for the other reports that we're going to talk about. So I talked already about the square footage, beds, baths, all this kind of stuff over here, the quick and dirty. But notice now over on the left, using exact listings by MLS numbers, it's got FMLS numbers here in this box. Those are the FMLS numbers of the properties that I had selected back in Matrix. Okay. So it's going to use these specifically as comps, right? Because again, at this point in the more traditional sense, in the more traditional flow of creating a CMA report, you've already done your research, you know which comps you want to use, so we're making it this way. Notice down below in the tip, you can add extra FMLS numbers at this point. You can do it by separating them with a comma like it's done already. You can just put a space and then put in another FMLS number, or you can put one on a new line. Okay, you have each line, you can put in a different FMLS number. It'll understand. Now, the last thing I want to say before we move on from this screen is, if you're thinking to yourself, well, I would like for Cloud CMA to pick up its own comps, but I at least want these as well. Can I tell Cloud CMA, you find some on your own using that quick and dirty method, but I want you to also include these. Make sure you include these. The answer, unfortunately, is no. Notice that the little word here between these two methods is or, not and or not either or. So if you're going to do your own search, you have to stick with what you've got, or you can let Cloud CMA find its own, not a blend of both. Okay, So one more time, I'm going to click Fetch Listings, and one more time as we're working over, remember that criteria, listings, customize, and publish screen is the same regardless of which report we're going to create. So we're going to see that a couple more times. Okay, so it's going out and it's pulling the property data from those listings that I told it to use, and it's gathering that data on the back end to present that as a list here on my next screen that's loading. And these screens, actually, today's not a very great day to use this recording because the system is going a little slow. I don't know if it's necessarily my internet or it's the system. It's kind of hard to tell, but I'm going to use this video anyway because I want you to see that, hey, it happens to us too, right? And that wasn't that long. Okay, take a sip, find out what Wendy Williams is talking about on TV. So here are my matches. Okay, just like we saw before, it summarizes them on the right, gives my price points. Whoa, hang on a minute. I've got $1 million listing in this 700 to 800 roughly kind of price point. This is not one that I want to add in. So right here I can see it and I can uncheck it. But I also want you to see that if I see it up here, maybe one of the reasons I don't want this one is because not only is it at a higher price point, but it's kind of further out a little bit than the rest of my listings. I can click on it here and uncheck that box to take it out as well. So I can do it both on the map and in the results down below. But we've already seen those check marks, and I can put it in or out if I want to, because notice now it's just gone back to being grayed out. If I thought to myself, wait a minute, there was a reason I added that, I can put it back in just by putting the check mark back. So I can always change my mind back and forth. Okay, so like I said, we saw the check boxes on the last quick and dirty method that we used. So let's focus on things that we didn't look at before. So one of the things we didn't look at before was this purple box. Now the purple box was there before, we just didn't talk about it. And you might remember that my subject property, which is kind of currently drowned out here with these colored boxes, was that same purple color, right? So let's take a look at this purple box. Over to the right is a link in that purple box that says price guide and net sheet. If I click on that, it's going to kind of expand that box down. And I have two things. One is the price guide. The other is the net sheet. In the price guide, it's going to kind of break down the low, median, average, and high for all listings, active listings, and sold listings. So for instance, if I'm thinking about pricing this to list it on the market, 680, which is the average of my actives, I might say, well, 680 is kind of my perfect target. Let's be comparable there. I can click on that, and that number now goes up into the box. Well, maybe I don't want to target a specific number. Also, I could target my own number. Let's say we're going to actually list at 690. Let's go in a little higher than that because I feel like our property is a little nicer than that 680 listing. Right? I could do that. Just type it in myself. I don't have to type in one of those. And to that end, maybe I haven't necessarily visited the subject property yet, but based on what's happening in the neighborhood, I feel fairly confident in saying we're going to list somewhere between 650 and 725. I can put in a range if I want to. All right. So I actually have three options. A specific number. I can leave it blank if I'm not ready to talk about pricing, or I can give it this range like we see right now. Okay, so that's pricing if you're at that point in your CMA. So let's talk about the net sheet, the other thing that's in this purple box. Well, know that you don't have to do anything on a net sheet. Just because it's here and you're like, well, I use the price guide, I guess I have to use the net sheet. You don't have to do that. You can leave it alone if you want to. But a net sheet in the cloud CMA system, super, super simple. Let's just say, for example's sake, I'm going to click under the expense column here, and I'm going to say that one expense that my homeowner has is a balance on their mortgage. And over to the right, the amount of that balance on the mortgage, let's just say, is $325,000. I'm going to save that over to the right. And what it's done is if I make this selling price point a range such as I have now, 650 to 725, it takes always from the most conservative number. So 650 minus 325 is just by happenstance 325. Okay? Because if I had said we're going to sell on that high end 725, now it comes back and says, well, 725 minus 325 is a cool $400,000, right? And I can keep adding to that net sheet if I want to. Okay, so that's the purple section. I'm going to go ahead and roll that back up by clicking once more on that link to the right that says price guide and net sheet. Kind of hide that. So the other thing, the last thing then to talk about on this screen is also under each of these potential listings that I might want to add is a link that says details and adjustments. If I click details and adjustments, guess what we see? The details of the home, including the public remarks, which I can change up if I want to. Now, changing up the public remarks here obviously doesn't mean I'm changing the public remarks to this listing that's probably not mine on the MLS, right? I'm not changing the remarks. I'm just saying that it's giving you an extra note space that you might want to use in your CMA presentation to your client. So you can kind of wipe out those public remarks, or if you want them there to reference something that they said, like, oh yeah, remember that this is steps away from the hospital where you might be working, right? Or something like that. So there's the details. And then at the bottom is the adjustments. So it works just like the net sheet. It's a very, very, very simple thing. Let's just say that this one has an extra bedroom. Because it has an extra bedroom, I think it's worth an extra $25,000. So I want to take away $25,000 from this home. So we adjust that down from 760 to 735, right? 760 minus 25 is 735. Okay. And I can keep making those adjustments if I feel that there are more I need to make. Okay, so just like that purple one, we can kind of zip that back up just by clicking details and adjustments and keep working down if there are more adjustments that I want to make. Okay. Also notice I want to point out down here, add a listing. All right, so how the system finds comps, if you remember from when we were talking about our account settings at the beginning of this video, you were indicating that you were an FMLS agent. You were using your FMLS login data to find these comps. So all of the comps that it's able to find here, either on its own or, what we're bringing in from Matrix, obviously, are from the FMLS system. But hey, we know that there are other MLSs out there. There are people that do for sale by owners that you might find as comps. So down at the bottom here, add a listing. Notice what happens. If I have an FMLS number, I can put it in the box, or I can just fill in the details. If maybe this wasn't listed on FMLS, instead it was a Georgia MLS listing, or it was a for sale by owner, I can still fill in the data and make it a comp. I can add it to my report. I'm obviously just not able to add it automatically. I have to kind of hand fill in that data because we at FMLS don't have access to that data, right? So let's go ahead and click Customize. That's all of the information extra on the Listings tab that we didn't go over when we did it the quick and dirty method. So now on the Customize screen, let's go over this some more. So I mentioned back in the account settings that there are a few places that you might see that you might want to spend extra money on. Okay. So I see them, and I see here Power Pack pages. Over to the right, it says Premium. Below there, it says Tom Ferry pages. It says Premium. And one last place up here in the center where it says Cover. If I click on that, it says Premium as well. Anything that says Premium, Cover, Power Pack pages, and Tom Ferry pages, those are the ones that they will give you your first hit free. They'll give you a free 30-day trial on those, and then you're going to have to pay extra for them. Okay, how much you have to pay, I'm not sure. How great these reports are, I guess that's going to be up to you to decide. Okay, and if you are looking at yours and you're watching or listening along to this video and you're thinking to yourself, I don't have Cover, I don't have Power Pack, I don't have Tom Ferry. Well, like I said a couple times at this point, some people won't see those. Okay, it just depends on a few variables. Okay, and if you're concerned about that, I would contact our customer support department. It's not a bad thing, believe me, it's not. Okay, it's easily explained. I just don't want to go into it in the video per se. Okay, but and like I said, I don't even want to talk about the potential pay things. I want to keep it nice and free. I don't want you to have to pay any extra money than you already have to do. So let's keep it nice and basic. So how we're going to do this is on the left, we have headings of different types of reports that we might want to add in. So for instance, if I open up the analysis section under the standard setting over here, I have a report called Online Valuation Analysis. If I want to think about adding this report in, all I got to do is click on the little green plus. It zoops it over on to the right side here and adds in that page to my presentation. And I can move it around just by dragging and dropping it into a different order. Okay, I can just drag it and drop it like any page. And if I'm not sure if I like it or not, I'd like to kind of preview what this page looks like. I can click on that and view a preview of what that page looks like. Okay. And if I decide I don't like it, now that I know what that looks like, I don't like it anymore, just click on the little red minus sign, kind of the direct opposite of a green plus, right? Click on the red minus sign, kicks it back over, and now it's back over under the additional content side. So what's in the center is going to be what's currently in your report. So again, remember that the more pages you have here, I have a whole bunch. Remember the last one I generated was 59 pages. Well, part of the reason it was so long is that I've got a whole bunch of them in my setup here. Okay, so I might want to consider getting rid of some of these as a way of getting, less pages. Also over to the right, notice that some of these say edit. That generally refers to one of those custom pages. So remember that my agent resume was a custom page. So I can either go back into my menu, go to custom pages, of course, and edit that page there. But if it's only here that I remember, oh wait, last night was the banquet and I got inducted into the bajillion dollar club. Let's edit my resume and add that bajillion dollar club member to my resume, right? I can edit it on the fly. Okay, so pretty simple. Again, by virtue of the fact that you're watching a YouTube video, I'm pretty sure you get how you can add and remove pages and move them up and down to change the order of your report. So let's look at the top of this section called your CMA report and look at some of these options. Like I said, I kind of called out the cover page, if you see it, as that premium, so I'm not going to talk about that again. So other things I can do up here, I can change the font. So if I click font, it comes up with different styles of fonts that I might want to put my report into. All of them are fairly professional. Some of them are a little more fancy than others. Let's do an Open Sans, for instance. The theme, let's look at this one. It's the upper left one. The theme, remember how I was saying pay attention to that blue and black line? I can change up the colors. If green is kind of my favorite color, let's make a green report. Okay, that blue and green. So when I click apply, it's going to go through and change those colors. And remember, if I was maybe telling you something that you weren't ready for or you were kind of confused by it at the time, remember those custom pages and how I said if you just kind of enter that information. So now if I preview that agent resume, we kind of see that preview and that's going to follow the theme. So now it's going to be blue and green when I publish this. Okay, but let's look at layout. So the next one up there in the middle. So I mentioned that part of the reason I had 59 pages was because I've got a bunch of pages in my report. Another reason I might have a lot is because of the layout. Let's click on this and I'll show you why. Here's our comparison pages, right? So right now I'm on the 2 photos layout, meaning I have one property and I have 2 pictures per property. that I'm kind of talking about. So 2 photos, if I can give you maybe some advice, and this is how I think about it, might help. 2 photos, you might use this layout for a family that's interested in the pictures of the home. Maybe it's some kind of interior feature of that home that really is the appeal to your buyer, or you think it's the appeal based on the seller's perception, right? The other one here, photo with map to the left. For instance, maybe this is a listing that is on a lake. And so knowing that this is actually on the lake, we have waterfront footage, or it's across the street from the lake, whatever the case might be a big selling point. So maybe instead of 2 photos, you want the photo with the map. There's also over here in the center, photo with max data. Maybe you're doing this CMA for a buyer who's an investor, who's not concerned with where it is, not concerned with what the fancy inside of that house looks like, because they're going to tear it down and build a Chili's or, something like that. So they don't really care about the pictures so much. They just want to see the data on the listing. They want the hard numbers. Then you've got your 2-column comparison, 3 and 4. So if I'm concerned about the amount of pages, both from a standpoint of not scaring off a client when I plop down a novel on their desk, but I also want to maybe not use so much paper. Let's go to the 4-column comparison. The template to the right here, the last one in the CMA report, deals with if I like the color scheme, if I like the layout, if I like the font and the order of the pages, I can save this as a template. Okay, save as template, and I can call it Eric's Buyer CMA, Eric's Seller CMA, Eric's Condo CMA, whatever the reason I might be creating templates for, I can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this one. And again, because this one does have a bunch of pages, it is going to take a minute. So I'm going to kind of filler talk here. Okay, but it actually didn't take that long. So yay, the system must be working faster. So let's take a look at this one. When I view this, it comes up, well, I went from 59 down to 31. I kind of halved that. Okay, the blue and green, I don't know if I like that so much, right? So you can just kind of make these value calls, right? Kind of look at this, see if you like this. Okay. Close out. Remember that you can email it. Click on the 3 dots, either copy the link and send it in an email that you might already be working on, or click email for your other 2 options, right? So that's how you can kind of go into the details, if you will, with your adjustments and putting an actual price point on the property, that kind of stuff. So the next report that I want to talk about is literally the next one in order up there, the buyer tour. So how I'm going to talk about the buyer tour, I always want to start once again from Matrix here. So I've closed out of Cloud CMA one more time. So of course, where it brought me back to in Matrix is on my results grid with my checked properties that I brought in as comps on that CMA that I just did. So if I want to make a buyer tour, I might look like normal for active properties in my client's preferred subdivision, and all that kind of stuff. And go over to results, check off those properties, click Cloud CMA, off I go, yay, yay, yay. But let me give you another idea. All right, let's put some building blocks together, so to speak. I'm going to go to my matrix and go to contacts. Okay. And the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to my contacts. I've got one here, Jeff Bridges, and Jeff has favorited 6 properties. Okay. So if Jeff calls me up and says, hey, Eric, I'd like to go out on a buyer tour, take me to some of my homes, this is a great place to start that search. I don't have to recreate the wheel. If I just click on the 6 that Jeff favorited, here they are. Oops, I noticed that since this morning one has gone pending. So maybe instead what I'll do, we're not going to go to the pending house. I mean, I guess I could, maybe depending, I might call that listing agent. But let's choose these 5 that are active and realize down here that I still have Cloud CMA. It doesn't matter what grid I'm on. As long as that grid is showing property data, I've got Cloud CMA, I've got Quick and Export, and all of those same links in the button bar at the bottom. So from my client's favorites, this is of course a brilliant place to conduct a buyer tour from. So I'm going to click Cloud CMA. It pops up here. But here's a problem. It wants to create a CMA report. Well, it wants to create a CMA report because, hey, guess what? CMA is in the title of the product. It's called Cloud CMA. Is that what I want to actually make, though? No, I want to make a buyer tour. So I'm going to click over to Buyer Tour up at the top in the center in this white ribbon. I'm going to click Create Buyer Tour. And check this out. It still has over on the right the FMLS numbers. It's kept those in its memory banks. And it knows those MLS numbers that I want to go out for. So for client, I do need to add a client. So I'll call this Jeff's Tour, for instance. Private notes, same thing as the CMA. They're just, for me, I'm going to skip them. They're thoroughly optional. Obviously, we don't have to worry about finding comps or giving subject property information. There's no such thing on a buyer tour. So I'm going to skip that. We'll just go right to fetch listings. So it's going to get the data for those properties that I selected that I'm taking my client on the tour, right? So we come over to the listings tab, and I guess we're back to going a little slow. Sorry. But we're going to go to listings, and I'm going to pre-talk about it. We're still going to see the map. We're still going to see the fact that they're active and kind of where they are on the map when we get there here in a minute. But we're not going to have that purple box where we have the subject property data because, again, we don't need to make adjustments. We don't need pricing strategies on a buyer tour. There we go. So, yeah, we don't have the purple box. Okay. We also don't have details and adjustments. Right? But we do have details. So if I open one up, there's the details along with all the features. Here's the description. So again, it's going to give the public remarks. Okay. I can change this and update that if I want to, same as we saw before. I can also add a listing down at the bottom, just like we saw back on the CMA report. Okay, so if I'm taking my client to a for sale by owner or one that was in the Georgia MLS system, I can add that in manually. Okay, so do you see what I'm talking about? How these 4 tabs are the same. I'm going to go ahead and click Customize. And pretty much the content of all of the tabs across the different reports are pretty much the same. Once you've created one report, it's pretty easy. It's pretty downhill to be able to just quickly create more. So same thing, font, layout, theme, same kind of choices that we had before. I can template this out. Okay, I can add in testimonials for me. We see over there to the left. Okay, so one last time I'm going to go ahead and publish this one. All right, because nothing is different there. Ordering the pages and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to publish this tour. And I want to show you both the PDF and the slideshow. I know I've been kind of saying I'm going to show you the slideshow later, all that kind of stuff. Well, guess what? It's later. So once this is done publishing here in just a moment, we're going to see both. I want you to see the difference and kind of what each of them does. All right. So this should be done publishing here momentarily. There we go. Almost as if on cue. Go ahead and click View PDF. Take a look at this. Here we are. It's the PDF. Scrolling down, and again, we've got a whole bunch of pages based on the fact that I added in a bunch of extra pages. This one says photo not available just because there's only the one picture of this home. Okay, so that's not going to normally happen. So I know you're seeing that right now, but don't freak out. It's just this particular house doesn't have a lot of pictures on it. But what I want to point out in this PDF version is there's a little heart over here to the right. There's a place for your client to make comments. So if, for instance, you might print this out to give them on Saturday or whenever you're taking the client around to look at their homes, they can write down some comments. Okay. So that's the PDF version, what I want to kind of show you there. Let's look at the slideshow version. So I clicked View Slideshow. It's currently opening in a new tab. It's loading this. And I'm going to tell you right now as it's loading that what the slideshow is for is generally it's intended for devices with touch screens, okay, because I'm going to be able to swipe. All right. Now, clearly, I'm just on an audio section right here. You're not seeing me swipe. And so I won't ruin the aesthetic by telling you that the screen that I'm looking at right now, it isn't a swipe. I'm on my monitor. But in the lower right corner, you might see down here, there's a little house surrounded by arrows. And it's kind of telling me, look, I can kind of click on this right one. So if I click on this, it's the same as swiping. Just kind of pretend I'm waving my hand across as I'm swiping over. So here are the houses, two kind of down here on the west and south side of Decatur, up in Hyde Park and Brentwood, over in the Trickham area. There's some active homes. Let's scroll down. Here's why we might look at active homes. Pretty self-explanatory on a buyer tour, but just know that that screen is available in the CMA and stuff, which is where that description might come more into focus. But if I continue to swipe over to the right, there's the first house, there's the picture. Here's some schools, okay? And notice that in the lower left corner, I've got my heart, just like I did on the printout version, and I can make comments by clicking on the little speech bubble down there. So notice on the schools, let me stop here just real quick. In the lower right corner of this report, it says great schools. I would argue that most agents, when they're looking for school ratings, go by great schools. Now there's other ones out there. But while I'm looking at this PDF on a computer, what I can do, Smoke Rise Prep, if I'm interested in that one, I might open that in a new tab. Just by clicking on it, it opens it and takes me to the Great Schools page for that school. So it's really handy. As long as it's in that electronic version, I can do that. I can also look at area restaurants the same. It gives me Yelp reviews. And if I click on, for instance, Husker's Cafe, it brings me to the Yelp page for that delicious dining experience. I'm saying that I've never been there. I'm not trying to talk up a particular restaurant, but it's rated fairly well. You can get area restaurants and school data. Okay, so that's just some interesting stuff that you can see. I can go to the next house, see what's around it, see the pictures. I'm going to close out of that. The slideshow version is very visual. Okay, so you're not getting a lot of details. You didn't, for instance, see the characteristics and the features and all that kind of stuff. So it's very visual. Okay, so let's quickly just go through the last two reports, property and flyer. So I'm going to click over to property while I'm already in here. And I'm going to create a property report. When we're thinking about a property report, the way that I would recommend that we kind of think about this as if you take a listing, usually, in my experience walking through listings, the listing agent will kind of print that one nice color layout of the property report, laminate it maybe, put it on the dining room, kitchen counter kind of thing, right? So this is kind of the thought process, in my opinion, behind a property report here. Notice the client name I'm putting in as the property, because if you're the property address, I should specify up there, because again, if you're kind of approaching this like I do, when you put that fancy printout in the listing, you have no idea who's coming through the house at any given moment, and you certainly don't want to print off a nice color copy for every client that's going to come through. Is the buyer's agent going to tell you who their client is? No, right? So you have no idea who they are. So client name, your client in this case, is the property address. You'll see that here in a minute. So I'll click Fetch Listings. Of course, being just one listing, this shouldn't take too long. There we go. So again, I don't need to make any pricing strategies. I don't need to make adjustments, but I can look at the details if I want to, and I can change up the description. Now that somebody's actually in the house, kudos on you putting the proper wording in the public remarks because they're there. Now maybe I want to say something else once they're in the house, right? So you can change that, and that'll be on your printout. Okay, that's really all there is to this page. So we're going to customize that. Same philosophy as previously. So I can change the color scheme. I can change the font. I can do a layout choice here. Okay, and the pages. All right, so we've got custom pages. Also, here's where that restaurants and schools is written out. Okay, so again, change the theme, the layout, and all that kind of stuff. So I'll publish that. All right, so here are 2 extra thoughts on this. One, so hopefully as you've been watching this video, you've been hopefully somewhat impressed by the visual aspect of the Cloud CMA reports. They're really nice, well-presented, clean, crisp, colorful reports, right? So here's the thing. If you like the way your property looks in this property report, those 3 dots, copy the PDF link. Now notice there's not a slideshow version of this report. Copy that PDF link, post it to Facebook, post it to Twitter. Get more eyes on this nice, sharp presentation of your property, right? Here's another idea. How about you just create a report that only has that area schools and restaurants pages, because those are fairly unique as well. We don't really see that in other products that FMLS gives you access to. How about you print out that school PDF, or I'm sorry, generate a PDF of that school page and then put that on your listing? That would be nice, right? Or that one with the restaurants. Maybe your listing is in a real high foodie concentration kind of part of town. Lots of nice, well-rated restaurants within walking distance. Put that Yelp restaurant page on your listing in Matrix. Could be an extra feature that would interest a potential buyer to get their agent to come look at your property, right? So just some thoughts on the property report. Let's look at the last one here, flyer. So again, while I'm in here, I'm just going to do flyer. I clicked on it at the top. I'm going to click create flyer. And we're going to basically do the same thing. So once more, a flyer, who's your client? The property. So one more time, I'm going to use the same one here. I'm going to skip private notes down at the bottom. I like to stick to the FMLS number. Sometimes the address is a little wonky, so I'm going to keep it on the FMLS number. Click fetch. Again, it's only one listing. It shouldn't take but a moment. Here we go. Once more, I can click details, change this up on my flyer report as far as the public remarks go. I'm not going to worry about it. Let's customize it. A flyer report is only one page. I'm not adding in other pages here, so I can say just listed, or I can see up here the title. Maybe I want to say for sale, so I can kind of change that title. Okay. My layout, maybe I want one with a couple photos. Let's do it that way, right? So I can change this flyer up when I click publish. There we go. Now I've got my flyer report. And again, remember that I can click on those 3 dots, copy that link, share that flyer to as many places that I can paste a link around the internet. Okay. So hopefully over the course of this video, you've seen that it's not just CMAs that Cloud CMA does. The CMAs are great. I think that this is a good product. It's really a lot about the visual representation. It's a lot about style, really. Okay, but the buyer tour, the property report, the flyer report, those are pretty fantastic, I think. They're nice and sharp and easy to create, so quick to do, and easy to share everywhere you want to just post a link across the internet. So that's it for this video today. Don't forget, if you do have problems or questions, you can contact our customer support department at 404-255-8660, option 1. They're available to you Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, and Saturday, 9 to 5. Have a great day.